Man City. Very, very interested to see what happens around Jack Grealish this summer. I think an awful lot of people are. We mentioned on previous shows that they have gone in early and done quite a bit of business. Is it 4 or 5 they've already got over the line? What is the current state of play with Grealish, and is there anything else going on there with City at the moment?
Pep Guardiola's post-match after the Club World Cup the other night, no one cared about the game, but the post-match talking was brilliant because he got asked, if you remember, Kyle Walker did that. I think he's got his own podcast, hasn't he, with the BBC, where he'd said, I would have given up any of my titles at City just to win one with Spurs. And that got put to him. And he had a bit of a rant, if anyone saw it, did old Pep. And he was actually asked about the captaincy because the players apparently at City, a bit like us, have picked the captain's group and the leadership group. And he actually said, I will pick it this season. And he proper snapped a little bit as he said it, like, I will pick the captain, like no messing around, like proper Tom Hanks on that movie in the middle of the ocean type of job. Like he is picking the captain, no doubts about it. So that was funny. And then speaking of Kyle Walker, of course, when you release a 58-year-old Ashley Young and you want youthful legs back in the side at Everton, of course, Kyle Walker makes sense, doesn't he? So he's the latest one. And it just feels like an Everton sign and his legs have gone. He's got no real other skills. Of course, he's an Everton right back ready to take out our left winger at some point next season. And Jack Grealish, also linked with Everton, also linked with Spurs. There is a few overseas links, European links we'll talk about with Jack Grealish as well. But Pep also mentioned him in the interview, say, yeah, great lad, needs to get a move, needs to play football, needs to get love. And then the only weird thing to mention about City, Trev, is he was asked about further signings. He said, I'm very happy with what we've done. I would like further signings, but I want a small squad. And everyone was like, hey? It's like, oh no, I still want a few, but I want a smaller squad. So basically, I'm guessing Pep wants to probably sign another 2 or 3 and sell 5 or 6, I'm guessing is what he's sort of alluding to. But yeah, City are definitely not done for this summer.
Now, you're a man who continues to watch football like an absolute lunatic, even when the season's over. I can neither relate nor understand, but I have a question for you. In relation to something that I've seen popping up again and again and again in the chats, how prominent was little Pepijn Lijnders on the sideline? Was he Jack in the Box prominent? Was he Newcastle assistant manager prominent? Or was he very much sitting back on the bench and minding his own P's and Q's?
He was like a hobbit skipping to a ring-based adventure, he was. You should have seen him in front of the cameras, giving it all, like the intensity was there and they were filming the drills and everything. And the hands were going and the screaming and, the like Chuck Norris style, like chops and directing thing. The full Lijnders repertoire was going on and people were being shouted. There was even one point he was pulling Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva, that player, probably has no idea where he's supposed to be, apparently, like dragging him around like a proper Sunday League manager type of thing. So honestly, it was just, you can just tell he is adoring the camera. And they did the whole like, oh, I got Klopp's permission for Lijnders and all that nonsense thing as well. But yeah, Pepijn was enjoying himself big time.
I mean, I actually just find it amusing as opposed, I'm not, a lot of people seem to be completely butthurt about it. I'm not. I think it's fantastic that he's there with them. I had started to be very disillusioned with that lad well before he left. So I just find it funny. Morgan Rodgers is someone that you personally have said you'd love to see at Liverpool at one point. It doesn't seem as if that's a really direction of travel for Morgan at the moment, but Arsenal and Chelsea certainly like the look of him. And again, the old PSR date may be looming here, Dave.
Yeah, weirdly, I want this to pass and be a non-story, if you know what I mean. Because I do like Morgan Rodgers as a player. I think he is a super talent. And as a few have had stories out recently, Chelsea and Arsenal are both keeping an eye on this, just in case. Villa, who are naturally rumoured, aren't they, to be close to the the sort of the line and even looking to sell a player are open, as a lot of quoting it, to a sale. So everyone's waiting to pounce on this in the form of Chelsea and Arsenal, aren't they? And I really hope they don't get the opportunity, in all honesty, because I do like the player. I do hope he stays at Villa for his own development that way as well. But yeah, it's one I hope doesn't come to fruition, and hopefully Villa do not need to sell.
Yeah. Next story up, and kudos to Cam Branch for a reference there to a murder and football story, which I'll leave you to make your own judgments about. Brighton, Newcastle, stories around these two. And I want to focus in particular, if you can, on João Pedro, because again, with the links to Jota, the very strong links to João Pedro, this is why some people were starting to think that the fantasy of Isak to Liverpool may not be just quite so fanciful. We know Eddie Howe is looking to get people in. What's the story around Brighton and Newcastle and the stories with both of them?
Yeah, it's busy, isn't it? That Brighton have signed another player, a centre-half called Coppola. So Francis Ford's lad is in, isn't he? So they've got another one on their books as well. So that's another random overseas deal. And they always get good value. That's not me being flippant. You know, we'll be a star at Brighton and how they do things. That also links, funnily enough, to Van Hekke, their Dutch centre-half. Seems that Newcastle are also looking at him in their options because, again, they're moving down the list of players they're trying to attract there. On the screen, as we mentioned, João Pedro, that this one seems there's real legs in it, that we would all love it to be that João Pedro's going to Newcastle because we know where Alexander Isak's going. That's what we'd love to say. However, just a note of caution on this, Newcastle have been trying to get another forward in for quite a while. We can't forget they tried for Kuna, lost out to United. They tried for Mbeumo. Look, that looks like it's going to be United again, doesn't it? Or possibly Spurs. They lost that battle. So Newcastle are moving down their list as well. And there's been a little bit of a, as some people have called it, a recruitment void, the Geordie reporters, because Paul Mitchell's moved out and who's sort of doing things, who's trying to sort things, why that battle's ensued. We love a good side story, though, Trev. As it came out this week, Newcastle are trying to make Julian Ward, our boy, our FSG boy, the technical director, is in the running to be the sporting director there, which I'm going to be honest, if Julian Ward has got any sense, run a mile from that. Because think how structured FSG Liverpool have been and what he's now working in at the moment. And possibly even, a multi-club model if we do get Getafe or FSG get Getafe and come on board. To give you an idea of how much Eddie Howe has a say in things, Eddie Howe's promoted his own nephew in the recruitment process as well now. So Eddie Howe's nephew was some sort of let's say junior deputy is probably the official title, I'm getting wrong, but has promoted him so he's senior in terms of recruitment. I mean, have you ever heard anything like this since the time Fergie made his brother the chief scout all those years ago? Do you know what I mean? Type of thing. So why Julian Ward would want to get involved in anything like that is beyond me. But yeah, a lot happening at Brighton and Newcastle just now.
Yeah, the Julian Ward thing, when I saw it first, I remember thinking in a moment of craziness, well, that could be another piece of the puzzle that we're looking to solve, right? That's what jumped into my head immediately. And I saw several other people with the same idea. Maybe that could help sweeten deals and all the rest of it, right? But like you say, I'm at a loss, Dave, to know where I land with the Newcastle thing, because a lot of people would say they're trying to do it right or better than other people with similar levels of infinity money. And I'm looking at Mateus Cunha and I'm looking at Brian Mbeumo and I'm thinking, lads, I think I'd have chosen Newcastle in both situations rather than a United who are very much on the lower end of things at the moment. So it's just interesting. I wonder, is there a perception that Newcastle are, like you say, a little bit of a basket case still?
Newcastle are almost, for me, refusing to accept what they are and misunderstanding what they are. people forget, you have to go back, from City when they had all those years. Remember when they had like Mark Hughes, Pellegrini come in, all Roberto Mancini, all those managers before it got to Pep. City had to, people forget this, overpay for players, didn't they, to get them there? Because players didn't really want to come to City to start with. It's taken a while and a lot of failed signings as well to get to there. Newcastle seem to be refusing to accept this. And Eddie Howe's even talked about it in interviews to say, oh, we're not going to pay like the extra Saudi tax they're demanding from us, which is fine. That's your right. But then don't be surprised when players turn to other clubs and look at other alternatives. If you want to get stars, and this is no disrespect to any Newcastle fans that are watching, I like Newcastle as a club. I genuinely do, aside from all the Saudi thing, but that's a discussion for a different day. I like the sort of the fan base, the style of the club. But if you want to get top stars or bigger stars, if that's right to say, to Newcastle, you are going to have to overpay. And people forget, do you remember when Bruno came when they were in that relegation battle on massive wages and had that relegation release clause, and Kieran Trippier on massive wages as well? Why did they come there? Massive wages, big fees. Newcastle seem to be refusing to accept that. But if they want to grow and build, they need to embrace it.
Yeah, I think an awful lot of people have forgotten the evolution of Man City and the years of, as you say, overspends for lads who were not really the very, very best level, but were hugely expensive. It's a very interesting model to see what Newcastle do with it. A little bit defiant, and some might admire them for that at the moment. Leeds are on their way up, and Leeds, you've already mentioned at least once today, they are signalling intent, at least, Dave.
I like this. I really like this because we mentioned last week they're after a few defenders, and it does look like they're going to land the lad from Udinese. I can't remember his second name, but Jake. So we'll just call him Jake in that regard. He sounds a good lad, doesn't he? But the big one on the screen, I mean, this would be a great move for them, wouldn't it? But they've had a bid turned down for Rodrigo Muniz, 32 million package. Fulham rejected it. I mean, we've seen Muniz in the Premier League get quite a few goals. And do you remember when, I know it was the end of the season, but do you remember that one where he brought it down out the sky and gave Van Dijk a little nudge at Craven Cottage and put it in the corner? You know, if Leeds get him, this is the type of sort of signing where you're like, you can't go making Leeds instant favourites for straight down relegation, can you? So I'm intrigued how they're going to do it. And I like this because I am tired of a little way clubs coming up, and it's their right to. But you know, them clubs that get promoted and spend like 8 million, that everyone's surprised when they end up with like 15, 16 points. Like, if you want to have a go at the Premier League, it costs money, simple as that. So fair play to Leeds and that ownership group. It looks like they are doing.
And I think we've got one more thing, and we might as well finish with Arsenal because you'll have a better lowdown on this than I do. But from the way it was presented to me, it looks like Lewis Skelly's agent played an absolute blinder. But they're still being linked with Gyökeres, and you have at least one other interesting link as well from a far more local source. Just go through the Arsenal potential business for us.
I love the way Lewis Skelly's agents played this. He's blatantly got into that room with like the new Edu, that Berta guy, Arteta, and gone to his mate, whatever happens, ring me in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they started negotiations and that. And they've taken, excuse me, sorry, Mikel, I've got to take a call. Yes? Oh, bear with me, it's Florentino Perez on the phone. What, Mr. Perez? You'll give Miles Lewis Skelly 80 grand to it? I think Lewis Skelly is a talented kid, don't get me wrong, but the rumoured wages they're set to get, it does feel like his agent has played this a blinder and got him a big wage at a young age and a long-term contract and got that sewn up. But yeah, you do wonder, like, the fact that they've jumped him so high so early is a big question there. But also on the screen, it feels like we're going back through Arsenal strikers, doesn't it? That they've surveyed the market, they've tried. And as Alex Crook and a few others have got there, as Alex Crook said recently, he'd had a message suggesting that Victor Gyökeres has told friends and family he expects to join Arsenal, which he was the flavour of the month. Then he wasn't, was he? Then Sesko came in and different bits. That seems to have gone quiet, but maybe. And again, suggestions that Arsenal were trying to see if Isak was available at the same time. That looks a non-starter for them. Back to Gyökeres, where you started originally. And even tonight, as the Evening Standard's got, and a few others in the Telegraph as well, Matt Law, Chelsea are looking at options, and they've had no real joy in the winger market. And in fact, they're looking to offload one in the form of Noni Madueke, the England international as well, and the Arsenal are interested in that player. So it does just feel like Liverpool and the Premier League have pressed down on the accelerator in the last 48 hours, doesn't it?
It really does. And just to address at least one comment I saw there, I think it's Brad. I believe I heard rumored wages of 100,000 in this new contract, which when you think that that's more than established Liverpool first teamers who are looking to wrangle their contract numbers up, that's a wild achievement if it's true. I'm not sure just how 100% certain it is.